Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we're going to be looking at the Tuesday, October 9th, 2018 election polls from a number of these states. And right now it isn't looking too good for the Democrats. Just looking at the numbers alone, there's a lot of red on that map, but also it comes down to these House races and then a couple of these races that are already rated in one favor of a certain political party. So they aren't too surprising. But right now I'm looking at a number of these polls that some are coming out. In fact, they came out today, but I will be analyzing them in a separate video because there's a lot more data there than you see today. And this may seem like a lot of polls, but Wednesday has a lot as well. But so looking at a couple of these Senate races, I mean, we only have one Senate race being polled here, but it is a state that went for Clinton back in 2016. So we start off with the Nevada Senate race. Jackie Rosen is behind Dean Heller by 2%. Now, that may seem like the lead could be made up, but Jackie Rosen has pretty much been leading up until around Kavanaugh when Dean Heller started to take a lead. Now, it could be Kavanaugh or it could be other factors just based off the candidates themselves. But it really isn't that good, especially considering that Dean Heller is pretty unpopular compared to other senators across the United States. He really shouldn't be leading by 2% at this point, when this is an area that the Democrats are relying on for a pickup, when Republicans probably are going to get a pickup in a state like North Dakota. They need to compensate somewhere else. So there's a new poll out today from Arizona that doesn't give good news for Democrats there. So if the Democrats are not getting a gain there, and they're not getting a gain in Nevada, where else can they look? I mean, they can look in Tennessee. They can look in Texas, but they're probably not getting it there if they're not getting it in Nevada and Arizona. So when it comes down to the state itself, this Senate race probably will lead into eventually hurting the Democrats if this lead continues for Dean Heller. However, you look back in 2016, Trump led in the state of Nevada on Election Day. And in the no tosses map for 270 to win, showed Clinton winning with 272 to Trump's 266. Now, the reason behind that was Trump won every swing state, except for those 3 Rust Belt states. Now, he also won the state of Nevada, according to this poll. But we go into the general election, and Nevada goes to Clinton, and those 3 Rust Belt states go to Trump. So, just a little bit of toss-up, crossover there. But right now, I guess you could say Nevada sometimes underestimates Democrats, but this is an NBC News poll. So, again, really hard to make an argument as to why this isn't good for the Democratic Party, because it really isn't. Now, going to the Nevada governor race, right now, Laxalt leads by 4%. That disagrees with the data we've previously been getting from the Nevada governor race. Now, it may be a little bit more in favor of the GOP because there's a GOP incumbent, but again, this is a Clinton state. These states should be going to the Democrats when excitement is at its all-time high for the Democratic Party. When you take a Democratic state and somehow in both of its statewide elections in a Democratic wave year, and somehow the incumbent party is able to grasp onto that with very little funding and very little attention to these races and hold on to those races, there's definitely something either wrong with the opposition party, in this case the Democratic Party, or the candidates up for them. And Jackie Rosen doesn't seem like she could have been a too bad candidate for the Democratic Party, but again, only time will tell leading into the general election. For the Alaska governor race, we have Dunleavy versus Walker versus Begich. Now, this may seem like a lot of names. Okay, 3-candidate race, but keep in mind all of these people are known statewide. Dunleavy leading by 20%, but if you add Walker and Begich's votes together, they lead. But unfortunately for them, neither of them are going to drop out before the general election. Walker is the incumbent. He's one of the most unpopular governors in the United States. Mark Begich was a senator leading up into 2014 when he narrowly lost in a Republican wave year. So it's not that he can't win a statewide election. Unfortunately for Begich, Walker's standing in the way of that. Unfortunately for Walker, Begich is standing in the way of him and his re-election bid. Now, I'm not going to say that all of these Begich voters would go to Walker automatically, or all of these Walker voters would go to Mark Begich, but it's probably more likely that this Democratic senator from 2014 has a better chance than Walker considering the popularity. Yes, Walker may be ahead by 4% ahead of Begich, but that's likely because he's gaining those independent, more Democratic voters that want to stick with an independent, stick with an independent and an incumbent because they want to lead themselves into victory. Now, Dunleavy leading by 20% has moved this race into the likely GOP column. Okay, this race really shouldn't be a likely GOP state in a Democratic wave year, but this is still Alaska nonetheless. We're not going to see that much of a push for Democratic candidates, especially when there's an incumbent already running and they're taking 27% of the vote away from it. There's no way that Walker or Begich can win this alone, or outright. They're not going to win with a plurality. They're not going to win with the majority if all 3 of these candidates stay until 2018. Unfortunately for Alaskan Democrats and independents, the Republicans are going to win here and probably by a plurality because there's a lot of vote splitting between Walker and Begich. But that second place person probably is going to move on to a higher office later on. Look at 2020. We see a Senate race there. Mark Begich could go back for his old seat again. Or if he wins the Alaska governor race, probably could go for re-election. But if we're looking at someone like Walker, he's already unpopular statewide, whereas Mark Begich, not so much. So I think Begich is playing the long game, where he really doesn't really care about how he does here. Or, I mean, he does. Obviously, you always care about your election now. But he has other opportunities. Walker does not. So this is his last election. This will be his last election. But then we can move over to the Oregon governor race. Brown leads by 4%. Now, the reason why this poll is taken, again, this is Oregon. This seems like it would be a Democratic state. Unfortunately, for the incumbent, it's not. Now, Kate Brown isn't the most unpopular either. It's just the fact that this race is a little bit closer than people expect. Right now, Bueller actually led in a poll according to Clout Research, but then it slowly turned into a tie, and then Brown now leads by 4% according to the Oregonian poll. Leading by 4% isn't the worst thing, but as an incumbent in a Democratic state, in a Democratic wave year, in a state that overwhelmingly voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, really not a good look. But still, a win is a win regardless. If a GOP candidate is able to win in Oregon, that's a huge thing. If a Democratic candidate is able to win in Oregon, it's nothing new. So again, a win is a win. Nobody's going to be really looking at the margins, considering that this would be a re-election bid. So it could get a little bit closer, but 4 years after this, it really won't matter. Moving into the Maryland governor race, Hogan versus Jealous. Hogan pretty much holding strong. Now, people do say that I am somehow biased for Larry Hogan because I was on his campaign, but looking at the numbers themselves, they don't lie. I mean, they're showing Hogan leading by 20%. The other polls showed him leading by similar amounts, but he was at 51%, 52%. He's now at 58%, and Ben Jealous is at 38%. So again, when you look at this, very little undecided voters. Okay, 4% of undecided voters, or they're voting for another candidate. Ben Jealous gaining 38% of the vote as a Democrat in Maryland says something. But then you look at the popularity of Larry Hogan, then you throw that out. Because Ben Jealous, being a Bernie Sanders type Democrat in the state of Maryland, not too popular. I mean, he won by a plurality. He won with 34% of the vote. This is not some Hillary Clinton type sweep where she won with 66, or around 60, percent of the vote, and Bernie Sanders got 33%. So Jealous won the nomination, 1% more than what Bernie Sanders got in 2016, but that doesn't mean he's popular statewide. Keep that in mind. So the Maryland governor race, pretty solid for the GOP at this point. Now we're going to start moving into some House races. Virginia 10th. I get a lot of ads for this. I don't even live in Virginia. I live in Maryland, but I'm around the center D.C. area, and I'm near Virginia's 10th district. So I get a lot of ads for this and a lot of Barbara Comstock ads. But right now, I believe Jessica Wexton leads by 12%. Yeah, this is a Washington Post poll, so take it how you will, but a 12% lead for a non-incumbent in a pretty contested race definitely says a lot of good news for the opposition party, in this case, the Democratic Party. In Illinois 14th, though, the Republican leads by 4%. In New York 1st, the Republicans lead by 8%. Now, these leads may not be the worst thing for the Democratic Party because, again, they could be getting in other areas. They aren't necessarily always turning to Illinois for pickups. They're not always turning to New York for pickups. The only areas where they really think they could get really good pickups are New Jersey, California, Pennsylvania because of redistricting. But again, a lot of their pickups will be 1 to 2 in a couple of these states, maybe 1 in Texas. Okay, maybe 2 in Florida if they play their cards right. But California is probably going to be that huge epicenter for pickups for the Democratic Party. At this point, Illinois 14th is a lot closer than I expected if this is the correct race. Let's go ahead and click on it and just see where it is. You're probably not going to see the numbers that actually, wow. So this type of, I guess, landscape on my videos is pretty good. So it's a lean GOP seat. So yes, it's closer than I expected because usually when it's lean GOP, it's like +8, +9. But right now it's +4. So I could make an argument for lean GOP, but again, closer than you probably should expect. In New York's 1st, the Republican leads by 8%. This is what I mean by like a lean GOP seat is +8% for the incumbent. So not too unexpected. In Pennsylvania 16th, Kelly versus DeNicola. I believe this race is so it's a likely GOP seat. So this is a little bit worse for the GOP incumbent in terms of a likely seat because that probably should be around double digits, which is pretty close to double digits, but still a little bit under it. So something to note as well. In Florida 16th, right now Buchanan leads Shapiro by 10%. Right now, this is a leaning GOP seat, so +9, +10 probably could move it over into the likely column as you start getting into double digits. So not the best look for Democrats in Florida, but keep in mind 16th district is probably not the area they're 100% focusing on, considering it's a likely GOP district. Now, in New Jersey's 11th, I mentioned this one before, this is an area where Democrats think they could get pickups in, and they're absolutely right. So I believe this race right now, if we're looking at it, is a toss-up race, and 2 polls have exact same results, just a lot less undecided voters than back in June. Sherrill leads by by 4%, according to the most recent poll. And then we just look at the 2018 generic congressional vote. This is actually pretty surprising. 6% out of the national average, Democrats plus 13. Keep in mind, in 2006, they showed the Democrats leading by 20%, according to the generic congressional vote. So, yes, they could be overestimating Democrats nationwide. The Democrats have actually gone down to a 6.9% lead compared to before. And then we see congressional job approval rating: approve 17%, disapprove 75%. So never really the best numbers for anyone there, regardless of who's in power. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.